Hey, greetings. Welcome to the channel. So today, what you're gonna do is one of our sessions where I'm just working on things, right? It's a tutorial. It's a work session at the same time. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and let's get into it. So today we're going to be working on style out this matte chips, right? What I wanted was I wanted to implement angular material, but as we all know, implementing the angular material is different. So I'm trying to see if I could recreate what I see here, and then get rid of the material chips module, and then use my own. Right, so right now I'm in the middle of styling. Right, so I've displayed inline. Right, so that takes care of that. Now say padding. Say spacing 2. CS variables. Always important to use your CSS variables. Also, like when we do sessions like these, just know that it's a session in best practice. Just name it. All right, so I'm noticing is that the right, although there's padding, right, padding is not expanding the way I need it to expand here. Right, so I definitely don't want this to take up all the space in the world. Let's see if I can say display flex, because this doesn't need a stretch, right? This has a set amount. This item doesn't need a stretch. If I say display flex, I think it will want to try to shorten itself out. Right, great, like it did there. Right. Definitely try to avoid display inline. I see it a lot. Definitely the block pattern. Well, no, it's a best practice. Hmm. So there's definitely something wrong with with the browser. I'm gonna use my Opera browser, see if it's any faster for us. Five. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we're working on it. So with that, right, so border radius, it's usually different. Most people think percentages, but actually you want to use runs here. I just say 100, right? Because if you use a percentage, what's gonna happen, it's gonna fold on it, it's gonna become like a cylinder, almost a cylinder shape, like a horizontal cylinder shape. But if you use percentages, it's much going to cooperate with what you need it to cooperate with. All right, so there's that for the most part. All right, that kind of looking intact the way we need it. All right, so this text is looking white. I kind of want to make it look black. All right, so definitely not too keen, right? So it's just li itself. So what I could go ahead and do, we would say color is just BS dark. Danger the dark. Alright, okay, so that's looking nice for the most part. Alright, so now this chip kind of has like a border around it. So it's like a button, right? So I think I'm just, instead of making a class for it, I'm just going to leave in the context that it is right now. Right, so there's that. So when someone clicks on it, right, then the action should happen, right? But since I'm taking that functionality from material chips, I gotta provide it for myself, right? And now let's provide also a background color, which is also gonna be BS gray. For the most part, I want the text itself to be transparent, right? So I know it's inside of the icon, right? So let's go get the icon class. This color is transparent. Right. Oh, so that I really can't. That makes a lot of sense, right? That makes a lot of sense. It's actually not. It's not gonna be transparent through the parent. Be transparent through the grandparent. It's gonna be transparent through the parent. So I kind of need I just need these two to be the same, right? So definitely, I want a principle here. Definitely don't like to repeat myself. So I'm gonna say chip icon. I'm gonna see a variable color. Make it here like so. Just gonna go ahead and set that value up like so. How the stranger feels I'm doing things wrong, right? But ultimately now, right? So instead of editing this, I could just go ahead and edit chip icon color. So let's continue, right? So now order radius. So since I want this to be a circle, 100% is definitely fine for us. Only in times when you kind of want things to get sort of a cylinder shape, right? But even so, like we could see if wait, if I use px, I should get a cylinder. I should get a circle. Yeah, no, I get something stand. I get something upright. So I want to say if the width is auto, because I know I need to use 100% here. Width is auto, I believe. Oh, it's gonna be very interesting to try to get this to be what I need it to be. Um, is this display flex? Right, so I don't know if it's don't know too much if it's display flex, but we can give this a certain width. Let's give it space and 5. Let's try to get this to work. And I think for the instead of going back and forth. All right, yeah. So I think space and 5 is perfect. Then height should be idle. And then, yeah, that's going to do what I want. So definitely when it comes to buttons, like as you get more and more buttons, what you want to do is you want to set a margin on its right and on its bottom. All right, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here. Margin is 0. Spacing 2. Spacing 2. 0. Oh no, this is pretty small spacing. I'm going to say spacing 6. I should do probably. Okay. Not intended, right? I think this is the wrong button itself, right? So for this, right? This is really a chip, right? So now I got some spacing going along, right? So I think we'll just leave it at spacing 5. I think that'll be appropriate enough space. All right, so that chip is looking good so far. So ultimately, the next part is that I want this div to all come together into one, right? So this div actually has a background, right? So basically, I want my input to disappear, and I want this to come out as like one piece, one item, right? So if I go ahead and work on that, right, I want to see where my input is. Pod 0, right? There's an input in the middle, and then it continues. It continues from there. All right, so I think that input and autocomplete kind of needs everything together, but you know me, I like to organize my CSS. So let's just say pod 1, and let's kind of everything together. Might as well instead of try to keep it separate. Yeah, that looks right. Everything still looks intact as desired, right? So what I want to go ahead and do now, what I want to go ahead and do now is I want to put some padding on this input. So go ahead and do that. Add 1. and I say input, and I say padding, spacing 5. I think I'm gonna like spacing 5 for all my problems. Right, so there's that. Alright, so now input looks really, really nice, really, really meaningful. Alright, I'll make it spacing 4 for now. Alright, that works. Alright, so now I want the borders of this input to go away. So I would say border none, and background color be transparent. So I'm gonna make that background transparent because what's really gonna happen here is that, oh, that looks really, really nice. Now, I want to say the colors right. No, it's gonna need. What's really gonna happen here, or I'm even thinking to myself, maybe I could even just leave it like that. But what's really gonna happen here is that now this whole thing, this whole div here, right? It's going to get a color, right? So that means the main pod, right? So the main pod is going to get a background color, BS light. Right, look at that. Right, so that's kind of looking the way I need it to look. All right, for the most part, it looks like it's BS gray as well. So I'm gonna use the lighten S. This is SCSS. You don't see this in CSS, right? SCSS is a very good extension of CSS that you want to learn after you learn your CSS, right? Because CSS, it's everything is just variables, right? There's no styling. But in SCSS, right, you can use functions to make your styling life easier. You don't have to write out all the code all the time. All right, so there's that. So now I see a bit of padding, right? So I got some padding from the top and the bottom. I got no padding in the left. So I want to go ahead and provide that. I already provided that. So I want to say spacing 5. In my left padding. Alright, looking a bit broken. Looking a bit broken. Let's go ahead and provide a border radius. Radius and then px, and then let's definitely try to make this small, so I'll just give it 30 out of 16. I want the corners, but I don't want the corners too much, right? So I got a lot of corners, right? So border radius is very sensitive, so I'm not going to keep this small. But if I think about it, it evaluates to 10 pixels, right? What I did before. So that's why. Alright, so that looks nice. I kind of want these to look the same as my inputs, right? Just to be perfect, right? So there's that, right? So there's that. So now as I continue to add, so now that works. So now as I continue to add, this should populate and this should remove. Right, so what I want to go ahead and do here now is that, so when that, so this logic here, right, all of it is practically, I think all of it's practically gone. Like all the logic's practically gone, and I have to work on it myself. Everything looks nice here, but the logic I have to work on it myself. And then I think also what I want to do with this autocomplete, I want this autocomplete to be part of the child. So let me try to see how that looks. If I could just do that, if I want to see how it looks, if the autocomplete ends up as part responding to the main pod instead, right? And it kind of decides, right, that it's gonna be a part of the input. So, all right, but all right. So I think with that, that's enough with the styling, for now. Next part, we're gonna add some functionality, all the functionality that's missing from the material chip. Let's try to add it back, and let's see what we get.